Squirrels! So hello, and welcome to another Legends of Runeterra video. My name is Chris, and today we'll be talking about some of the Path of Champions exclusive cards that maybe should be included in the game. Now, someone finally went in and kind of found as many of them as they could. Obviously, some of them were mentioned, like, upon the release, but then there was a lot more than, initially. I think like 3 of them were released initially, but then obviously it turned out there's a lot more than 3. And there's a list of 16 here that was put together by More Likely. And thank you for doing that. I still don't, to be honest, I have no idea what this card is. Some of these things I feel like I've seen once, and then, I've never seen again. So I honestly don't know what this card is. The art looks pretty cool, though. And I know what some of them do, because some of them are in the decks, and that kind of makes it easier to see. But, like, this guy, I don't actually know what is going on. But I wanted to talk about, the cards that I think we could see actually being PvP cards, because I know a lot of people have talked about that. And there's one in particular I think that I'm very bullish on it becoming a card that probably you won't expect. So here we go. So we've got, I'll be honest, I have no idea what this guy does. This thing I think is just the 2-1. This obviously is Jinx's 3/3. I know this one. This one obviously couldn't be a card. The 2-mana 3/3 quick attack. That would be a really hot take if you thought that one would be good for the game. This guy, I have no idea what. Oh, actually, I might know. This one is the one that, like, there's a 1/1 that gets you a 3/3. I do remember these. This one is the little thing that gets quick attack. I can't find the cards. This person found the arts. I'm not sure if they have the cards. If you do have the cards or are willing to put in the time to find the cards, please do it and make a Reddit post about it, because then that would save me a lot of time and effort. So please do that. This thing, I don't know the burner. I know that, is it called, or maybe it is the burner, the thing that creates some ignitions. Is that this thing? I don't know what these do, to be honest. Augmented Poro. I don't think I've seen that, to be honest, either. I'm assuming it's a Poro with Augment. Okay, House Swamp. This one people know, right? And we'll come back to House Swamp and Double Agent as well, because those are in the Caitlyn decks. Charming Guild Member. Again, I have no idea. I haven't, played too. I'm sure I've seen them all at one point or another. This is the elusive one that deals 1 damage to an enemy. This one, again, probably couldn't be a card. And Ozzy is obviously to do with Echo's story there as well. But obviously, we're going to come back to the Double Agent and the House Swamp, because if we go on to Legends of Runeterra, they are a part of Caitlyn's deck. Here they are. Here's the actual cards so that you can see them. As I say, I'm not familiar with all of the other cards in there, but I do know about House Swamp and Double Agent, and people have often said, these could be cards, particularly House Swamp, as a 1-mana 2/1, 1 summon, plant 2 Flash Bomb Traps randomly in the top 10 cards of the enemy deck. Now, House Swamp obviously is kind of like Advanced Intel. It has a very similar effect, and but it does have a 2/1 body attached rather than being a 1-mana burst speed spell. So obviously that tells you that perhaps they thought that House Swamp would be too good for the game. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, if they thought that, if they think that giving a 2/1 body is too good for the game in PvP, then I think they're overrating Flash Bomb Traps as a whole. Because they're random and because they, can overkill things as well, I really think that this card is actually pretty fine as is and would be a perfectly fine playable card in PvP. If the devs think it's too strong, again, I think they're overrating Flash Bomb Traps if that is the case. But Double Agent as well, another interesting card. I think, again, a 3-mana 3/3 strike, all players draw 1. Obviously very similar to Veteran Investigator here, but obviously this is a summon effect, whereas this is a strike effect. So, it being a strike effect, it can go off multiple times, but, it can also go off 0 times. There's kind of a bit of a trade-off there in a kind of way. And I think that, paying the extra mana for a strike effect instead, this, again, is a perfectly reasonable card that I could see being printed. I'm not sure it would see that much play, if I'm being honest. I mean, maybe in, like, Caitlyn Teemo decks, it would see some play, I guess. But honestly, I'm not sure it's that much. I'm not sure it's even better than Veteran Investigator. I think you would probably just go with the Investigator in that case. But, it's a perfectly fine card. And, again, it could be one that, saw PvP play. With that said, these are not the cards that if I could pick one of the cards from the PvE section, these would not be the cards I would choose to bring into the game. Instead, I'm now going to go searching for that card. So I eventually found it. It's the first challenge in the Ezra run. The Hextech Observatory plays this card, and it is Jolt, this thing here. Because Jolt is the card that I want more than any card from this. Now, it would need some tweaking, I think, if it were to become a real card here in the actual game. But with some tweaking, and by tweaking I just mean, you know, get rid of this word followers, just make it deal 1 to all enemies. I mean, maybe you could even put and the enemy nexus on there as well if you wanted, but this is the card that I would like. And, you know, I've kind of been hinting at this a bit in other videos. I've kind of like briefly been mentioning this, that I think that this would be kind of a good idea. Because this is a hard control type card, right? This is something that, you know, it's kind of similar in a way to an avalanche or an ice shard. You know, obviously it does a sort of similar effect. But obviously it's slow speed. I do think that this kind of would be balanced if it was just to all enemies rather than just followers as well. So if it hit champions, obviously the kind of trade-off is with Ice Shard, you know, it's fast speed and it deals 1 to everything, whereas this would obviously deal only damage to your enemies, but it would be slow speed, and that is kind of, you know, the balancing act that I guess you could claim is going on there. Why do I think this would be a good idea? Well, I think it would be nice in this game if there was one more region that had harder control options as well. At this moment in time, we have kind of 2 regions that I would call, like, you know, they have hard control in Shadow Isles and Freljord. And there are certain regions that have, like, some control options, like Piltover and Zorn, and, like, Noxus and Targon, and maybe even Ionia as well you could put in there if you wanted to. And they have kind of, you know, some control. I mean, all regions have probably like a couple cards that you can kind of point to and go like, this can be used as control. Like, I understand that. But generally speaking, there's only kind of 2 hard control regions. And considering, you know, that Freljord and Shadow Isles, you know, were part of the initial set of regions, and a lot of the cards that are hard control tools in those regions came out at the start of the game, it means that some of them have become a bit outdated. And I feel like this is something that people aren't talking about enough when they talk about why control might not have kept up with aggro. It's because newer stuff tends to be better, especially as we've seen with Bandle City. And therefore, you know, because a lot of the old hard control tools are really old at this point, they haven't been able to keep up. You know, they haven't been buffed in line with a lot of the new stuff, and so a lot of them have kind of been left by the wayside. And so I think it would be nice if, you know, especially if another region kind of got some extra hard control tools, now that we know the whole 10 regions in the game. And so if I could pick any one card from the PvE, Path of Champions experience to put in the game, it would probably be a tweaked Jolt. Because I think that this would allow for a lot of different strategies to evolve from this, and it's kind of interesting that they made this card in the first place. I don't know if this counts, right? Does this count as something that they would claim is part of now, you know, Piltover and Zorn's, like, you know, color pie type thing? It feels still pretty Piltover and Zorn to me. You know, it doesn't feel crazy out of line with anything that Piltover and Zorn is doing, and so I think it would be just a terrific idea in general if this was in the game, because it would be just an extra option. It would give you that extra region to potentially play control decks with, because there will be certain champions that don't quite synergize as well, or maybe champions within Piltover and Zorn like a Heimerdinger who could greatly benefit from a card like Jolt. And so with that said, that's all I've got for today. Thank you so much for watching, and have a really nice day.